BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Hey everybody, it's Lloyd Spence with BLEAV in the ACC, and get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. So head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use the promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V. It's BetOnline. It's where the game starts. You can tell them the noisemakers sing.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah.
Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in the back of a can. You can make it round the world and it holds in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Burn Creek Hall of Famer Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and I mean back all the way. It is football season. This is week 1, and we're excited. Everybody's excited. You can feel it in the atmosphere. It reminds me of my favorite Phil Collins song. You feel it in the air of night. Oh, Lord. Oh, Coach Ward, are you a Phil Collins fan? Were you a Phil Collins fan?
Of course.
Okay, I was gonna say
this song was on every highlight film.
Man, you're right. You are so right.
And it still is. I mean, that shows you the staying power of that song.
It's a great song.
This song is like 40 years old, and it's still it still goes off today.
And I am going to humble flex a little bit. Shout out to my one of my favorite drummers and good friend Chester Thompson, who actually played the drums on that song. The doo 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 doo. I'm gonna take this one.
And that was a humble flex.
Really taking that one because that's my guy. I love Chester. He's a great dude.
I think that might be the first time you've given it to yourself all year.
It is. What's your point? I don't understand. I don't understand what your point is right now.
Charles, that feels some unfair treatment for the two of us.
No, I just don't humble flex as much as you guys. You guys are like massive humble flexers. I don't, I'm just a humble guy. Agree to disagree on that one.
That's no, I agree with Charlie on that.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do, Mr. Jack Harlow over here. Good morning to you. Shout out to you, fam. Appreciate you. Listen, we got a good show today. This is what we look forward to all year long. Talking about the actual football and the actual games and stuff like that. We've spent so much time talking about realignment that we haven't had time to talk about anything else, but we still got some realignment news. So Monday they were supposed to do an actual vote, and unfortunately we had the tragedy that took place, the shooting that took place at North Carolina that kind of preempted it, so they delayed the vote. What was interesting is that I'm not sure when I haven't heard that they've rescheduled another one. Have you guys heard anything? I've been looking for it.
I've heard either today or tomorrow.
So it's today or tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so eventually there's going to be a vote, which I'm starting to believe that they're going to say yes, because I think that the part that needed to be worked out, which was the money, I think they've worked that out. And so we're probably going to hear something here soon about the new additions to the ACC. But what makes this also interesting is that yesterday, some of the people from the committee, the College Football Playoff Committee, were being asked, what is expansion going to look like? What is the 12 going to look like next year? And they were like, oh, can't do anything. Can't even talk about it until the ACC gets settled. So to me, that kind of implied that they probably know that some deals are probably going to go down. Some things are going to be locked in. Does that mean, in you guys' opinion, that Florida State, Clemson, and some of the others are going to back off? Or this is just we're going to back off for now? What's your thoughts?
No, I mean, from what I heard, is it really comes down to one or two schools voting yes, because the schools who are voting no, I think are being outnumbered in some form, and I think if they get one or two of the schools to vote yes, then they get outnumbered. So I don't think any of the schools that you mentioned are backing off of their votes. I just think there are a couple of schools that are in the mix that are kind of in between the whole deal, saying yes, and all they need is one school to say yes.
Yeah,
I heard yesterday, and just going through watching coverage and stuff, that it could be a thing. Excuse me. It could be a thing of where they're padding the fall if North Carolina and Clemson leaves. They're bringing these other three in. I heard that yesterday. I don't know how accurate that is, but I did hear that adding these three schools is more of a buffer for whoever does leave. So there's that. The craziest thing too still is SMU.
Yeah,
basically joining the conference for free.
They're just grateful to be able to go to the prom.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They want to go to the prom so bad. Right. They are taking anybody.
They're willing to pay for your tux, their dress, the food, the limo, everything. They don't even care. They just want to go.
But I think we're looking at it from a right now standpoint. A lot of times that's the way we look at things. But in the future, it's better for them. And I was on a call yesterday. I'm not calling names, but I was on a call yesterday, and a top-ranked motivational speaker mentioned that he does 60% of his gigs for free, 40 paid. And so sometimes you have to do free in order to, get the things that you want long term. Yeah. Right. So I just think that's, the mindset, because if you want to get into, the group, sometimes you may have to go in at a cheaper price.
Yeah.
Yeah, make concessions sometimes. That's definitely what they're doing.
Now, I'm sure they don't want to make concessions for the next 13 years, but so there's still that carrot, or there's still that thing that's that elephant in the room that they got to work out. But I think what it feels like is that everybody's willing to kind of do this deal, and then let's take the rest of the year and figure out how to make this money thing work as far as renegotiating this ESPN thing. So, which I still don't know. I don't understand how they're going to do that, because how do you get somebody to the table that don't want to come to the table?
It doesn't need to come to the table. Yeah.
Right. They have no reason to come to the table. but it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. So that's your latest on realignment. We're done with that today. I'm grateful to be done with that today. For now. We're done with that for now. I'm sorry,
something can change by the end of the show.
You are what? 1,000% correct. We're done with that. at 8:15. Let's see how this works out. Let's see how this works out before 9 o'clock. Okay. We got some interesting stuff to get into as far as the actual conference and week 1 games and who we think is going to do what this season. So I think I want to start with some predictions, some overall ACC predictions, and I want to start with the rookie of the year. And I have 3 candidates that to me have kind of pulled themselves to the front. Shout out to Sean Alexander, which they renamed one of the Freshman of the Year awards, the Sean Alexander Award. Which, listen, if you remember Sean Alexander, that's a very appropriate naming of the award.
I mean, you say Sean Alexander, I automatically think about the one from Kentucky.
Oh yeah,
Alabama.
yeah. So there's 3 names that pop out for me that they're on the list of Freshman of the Year, the watch list, and that's Peter Wood, the lineman from Clemson that's coming in, Kevin Concepcion, and Ruben Bain. Are there any other names that you guys have heard or that you're looking at, like incoming freshmen that you think are going to make like a serious impact? Peter Wood is getting a lot of noise because I've heard some. I think these are wild comparisons, but I've heard some comparison like this kid could be the next, like the new Dexter Lawrence or whatever. And I'm like, let's settle down on that. But
Right.
still, these kids are supposed to come in and make like tremendous impact. I don't know about Kevin Concepcion. I like him. He's small and he's twitchy. He's got like a really twitchy speed to him. So like he's fast, but not like, it's a weird kind of breakaway thing. Like when he can get some separation, then he kind of gets a burst and he can go, but it's not like you can't catch him to me. So I don't know. I like all 3 kids. I just don't know if those are the ones I would go through. But you guys got anybody that I'm not hearing?
Well, my question is for rookie of the year: are we just doing freshmen, or are we doing transfer portal guys? Because that's opens up a whole new batch of kids.
Interestingly enough, how does that work? Because I don't know how that works as a voting thing. Like, do they count?
It feels like, and Charlie, correct me, it feels like they do because they're newcomers to the conference. It feels like they do count the transfers. I could be wrong, but it feels like they do.
I mean, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
I'd keep it at freshman. Yeah,
I'd keep them as freshmen. Newcomers on the campus, like campus fresh, new. Not they've been somewhere else, college campus, and then in somebody else's college. But
Phil Yurkovich is not a freshman.
Sam Hartman,
right?
That's
freshman
to
AARP.
35.
Yeah. So that's
freshman to a
the
mortgage.
Yeah.
Right.
But I haven't heard anyone. I haven't heard of any freshman.
Okay.
But
I really haven't either. Yeah. Even around here, and I said most of the talk, and honestly, most of the talk with the Louisville kids are the transfers. That's why I brought up the transfer portal, because mostly what we're hearing around here is about Jamari Thrash and Jack Plummer.
Yeah.
And so, the true freshman, and of course, Pierce Clarkson is the one that everybody's got their eye on, and apparently he's starting to make some moves. He's starting to really show some improvement in camp, but it's Jack Plummer's job, and so
yeah, absolutely.
So you may not even see Pierce Clarkson this season. And so the freshmen haven't really gotten that much attention around here.
Okay. So let's look at it.
But we will have some. We'll have some games this week. So,
right. We can get to know some people.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, when you look at offensive player of the year, the most obvious names that you think of is Drake May at UNC, at Jordan Travis, Will Shipley. Name is going to come up a lot. I'm starting to think that they're going to go as he goes. Then that's it. Like, it's, if he has great games, then they'll probably win. If he doesn't, then, and then this was a name that kind of popped in my head or on my radar. It's Tez Walker, who's the he's interesting to me because if he's good and he can replace Josh Downs, then Drake May could legitimately win the Heisman. Because somebody's gonna have to dominate in the Josh Downs fashion. And I'm not trying to say Drake May is not good, because I do think he's good. But I know an experienced receiver like a Josh Downs covers a multitude of sins, i.e. Mike Evans to Johnny Manziel, right?
Mhm.
Same thing. So when a guy is that good and that transformative, then it makes the job of the quarterback just that much easier. And so I'm wondering if Tez Walker is that guy. But those are the names that kind of popped on some of the preseason lists. What are some names that you guys are looking at? Or are you saying that's probably the list?
To me, that's probably the list. I think May and Jordan Travis are gonna really battle it out as top quarterbacks in the conference.
Yeah.
I'm with you on Shipley. It feels like as he goes, Clemson's going to go. So I think he may end up winning the award because of that. And so, but those are the main guys on my list.
Yeah. Although I will say this, Riley Leonard is starting to grow on me. I'll come back to that in a minute.
And that giant at receiver at Florida State. What's his name? Florida State's giant wide receiver. What's his name?
Who, Johnny?
Yes. I mean, I don't know how you cover that dude.
This is where prayer kicks in.
And so I think he's gonna make a huge step this season too.
Yeah, I mean they got a few guys, but I think when you start talking about Shipley, what does he get as far as, because in this day and age they don't like to use one guy,
Right.
because of the wear and tear and what have you. And so I'll be interested to see how much they use him this year. I know he's probably in the best shape, in some good shape. He's always been in good shape.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an issue. I just think the wear and tear of, a running back. How many carries does he get? When they use him, backups, those types of things. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him, because he's definitely going to be a load, and he'll get his carries. It's just a matter of how effective will he be, later in the season, which that hadn't been an issue thus
He's
far.
been durable. He's been very durable, to your point, Charlie. Like, I see and you make a great point here, because to me, I'm wondering because last year they felt like they had to lean on him because the quarterback play just wasn't consistent.
Right.
If that happens again, or if Klubnik doesn't take the step that everybody thinks he's supposed to, will Dabo be forced to kind of rinse and repeat and say, okay, I got to get 20 carries out of this guy or 20 touches out of this guy?
See, I think he's going to get 20 touches regardless because he is so good in
30.
the pass game.
I mean, but he may have to get 30. That's what I'm saying. He may be the most dynamic weapon they have, and they may not have a choice. Like, if they're going to be competitive in games, like, especially early on, as guys get acclimated to whatever this, I guess, new coordinator is going to do, it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds.
Well, I mean, it's kind of really preseason, and we really hadn't seen or heard any about many of these teams.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to, week 1 here this weekend, starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, this weekend, just being able to see teams play and compete against, other teams. And then it'll be a lot easier to kind of see who and how, how they're going to go. moving
Absolutely.
forward.
Absolutely. And then the final over in the defensive side, the name that pops out at me and just watching some film, man, and you're not gonna like this, Charlie, but it's the truth. I love Jared Verse. I think he might wreck the entire conference. Like he is impressive to me. Like what he's doing is impressive. And
Charlie's the only person on earth who hates hearing about his team
he
being
is
successful.
straight face. He didn't
Well,
quite like it.
unfortunately for Jared Verse, he's also shared to the world what's going to happen and what have you. So
Jared is not quiet. But I kind of like that though. I'm a fan of that. I think it's not bragging if you can back it up. And I feel
Right.
like
I just think go out and show me, and then allow that to be your talk. I'm all for the confidence and all those types of things, but be consistent in what you're doing and allow your play to do your talking. And then, on top of that, just be cool.
yeah.
You got to tell people what you're gonna do. And just show them what you're doing.
Show what
And
you're doing.
and then talk to them a little bit, in the mix of it. So
Well, a couple other names out there that are being thrown around. Dwayne Carter at Duke should be that should he'll probably be the anchor of that defense. A name that you mentioned some names out of Louisville, but one name that a lot of people nationally are talking about. I don't know if it's because of the name or because
he's played at 3 schools. This is his third school.
This is his third school. But Storm Duck is getting a lot of national pub, and then of course the linebacker core of Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter are getting a lot of love at Clemson. I listen. Clemson's defense is not going to be the problem. It usually
never is.
Yeah, it usually never is the problem. So I just think they're going to be fine on that side of the ball. It's just a matter of how much time are they going to spend on the field to have to win a game or whatever.
Well, the Storm Duck is going to have to take on a bigger role because U of L's their DB MG Griffin, who's supposed to have been their best DB coming in, looks like he's going to be out for the season. And wow. Storm Duck, he injured himself. That's been a couple weeks now.
Okay.
So Storm Duck is going to take on a bigger role in that secondary, and I mean he's shown at times that he can do it. I think it's a consistency thing with him and staying healthy. And so if he can stay healthy and stay consistent, I think he can have a pretty big season for them.
Pretty good season. All right. And then finally, who do you think is going to be coach of the year? To me, there's only 3 names. Mike Elko at Duke, if he can shock the world with, I don't know what made me do it. I think when we had our last conversation last week, I said, well, let me go back and check Duke out. Maybe I'm missing something. And when I started diving in,
Charlie, something's happening here.
When I started diving in, I was like,
you guys, I already know.
You may have swayed me, Charlie. And then the other name, of course, is Mike Norvell. Everybody's going to have him at the top of the list this season. But the sleeper, I think, is this one. It's Jeff Brom. And because
if you look at some of the national coverage, it's not a sleeper.
Well, it is a sleeper because
it's weird.
It's because of the nature of what is happening. And I know we're going to get into this in just a little bit with some of our picks, but I'll get ahead of ourselves a little bit. What Colorado has done and what Louisville has done, we've never seen this before. Like nobody guts their team and basically starts over. And these guys are saying, none of these guys cut the mustard. We're just going to start from scratch. Now, this is going to work one of 2 ways. It is going to be transformative, and it's going to work tremendously well where these guys, because I think, what would you say the number is if to make this call this a success? 8 wins, 7 wins?
For Louisville?
Either one of them. I'd say Colorado and Louisville.
Colorado, I mean, if they get 6 wins, it's a success for them. For Louisville, I mean, they had 8 wins last year, so they got to for it to be a success. It has to at least match last year,
Match last year
at
or more.
least,
Yeah.
yeah, or more. I mean, last year was a more difficult schedule because you played both Florida State and Clemson,
Right.
and so yeah, I mean, you have to at least win 8 wins for it to be a success compared to last year.
So I bring that up because Jeff Brom, if he pulls this off, and let's say he gets 10 wins, not only is he coach of the year in the ACC, but I would listen. You could make an argument he's coach of the year. Like it's, or if Dion gets 8 wins,
If Deion gets 8 wins, he's going to get National Coach of the Year.
he's coach of the year because he's just you know what he did, you know what both these guys have done if they surpass their totals from last year, they've literally reinvented college football because now coaches are going to be like,
Well,
now I get it.
I wouldn't say that because
Okay.
it depends on where you're located, and you know, because Michigan State did the same thing, you know, a couple of years ago, and they had a great year. It was their best year. And that's when coach got a raise, and then the next year it fell off a little bit. And I just think it's hard when you gut your team and start over with transfers, which is great because it helps, you know, curve some of the learning curve as far as wins and losses. Uh, but making sure that you get the right transfers in
The mix.
over the course of time, and then you have to mix in some guys that are young as well to be able to sustain it. Because in this day and age, transfers are, you know, the thing that's turning teams around quicker because they're veteran. But there has to be, you know, some science and all the different things, you know, that to help you be able to sustain it. So I just think it's great to be able to turn a program around, but to be able to sustain it, we haven't really seen that quite yet. I mean, Florida State is close, but they didn't really totally gut. They slowly, but they didn't totally do it over the course of Coach Norville's time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way you're going to have to look at it because I mean, when you start talking about taking over programs that are bad in a sense, Louisville wasn't in that case. Um, Colorado was. Then you're going to have to slowly but surely do that to be competitive over the course of time, I do believe. But when it's all said and done, you got to go with your gut and find the right people to come in and help you change the culture.
Yeah, and Louisville didn't gut the program like Dion did. Louisville had a lot of seniors last year. You know, Malik Cunningham, Yasser Abdullah, and all the guys they lost their running back. I mean, they lost a ton of players off of last year's team just from graduation. And so he
20 transfers is a lot, bro. Like
20, I mean, it's a lot, but
yeah.
it is a lot. But I mean, like I said, when you have as many seniors in as many key spots as U of L did last year, that was more out of necessity more than you have Gucci or Louis, whatever Dion said. When
and the latest of the hire. Yeah, that's funny. I'm bringing my Louis bag. And the lateness of the hire probably, affected the transfer, move as much as anything with Louisville. So, but still, I mean, it's interesting. It's very interesting to see, what's going to happen with both of these guys. But I'm very curious to see how it all turns out. So, all right. So that's a little preview, kind of just a glimpse of what's going to take place this season and who we think may be the front runners or whatever. And so now let's start Friday night. Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. It kicks off with Louisville and Georgia Tech in it's a neutral site, even though it's in Atlanta. So I don't know how neutral that is.
Well, when you see how many Louisville fans are going to be at that game, you'll see why they call it.
It's gonna be packed. Louisville fans are going to show up for sure.
They are going to show up because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of Louisville fans there.
So, with that being said, there's probably no greater unknown in the ACC than Louisville. What are you guys predicting on Louisville and Georgia Tech?
Crazy. Last spread I saw, they were like an 8-point favorite, and I'm like, that's a lot of points for an opening game that is essentially on the road with a new coach and all that stuff. That's a team. To me, 8 points is a little steep.
I think that's more an indictment on how they think Georgia Tech is than it is how they think Louisville is.
Yeah,
I think that people don't have a lot of hope in Georgia Tech.
But I mean, Georgia Tech showed last year in some games that they can be competitive.
Yeah.
I just think 8 points is a lot. I am picking Louisville to win the game.
Georgia Tech has a new coach there, right?
Yeah.
Is he? But he was the interim last year, though, right? When they wasn't he?
Yeah, because remember they fired the guy halfway through the season, and technically he's not new, but he's new. This is his first time as the guy. I think.
He doesn't have the interim label anymore,
right?
And they got the quarterback from, was it Texas A&M? He came from that. Brown revealed at the press conference on Monday that they recruited him hard at Purdue, so he knows all about that kid. So he really likes him, but. But I'm picking Louisville in the game, but I just think 8 points is a pretty big number for an opening game that's essentially on the road.
Louisville got a lot of pieces to put together too. It's an interesting game. It's because can you pull together, like you said earlier, Charlie, all of those pieces and create culture in essentially 4 months? That's what we're really talking about, and I'm going to say they do. So I'm going to say
Louis. all these first games, unless it's, I'll just say all the first competitive games that we can think of can go either way.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially first game, because you don't know the unknown and who's going to perform well and how they're going to perform through adversity. And so it's all these games are competitive ones, I should say, or pick 'em type games. But I'm gonna go with Louisville too, just because I believe in Coach Brom and he has a good track record.
All right. The next game on Friday is Miami of Ohio at the U.
The U is back, baby.
U is back. Like to play football, not necessarily back.
Even Miami, the Miami of Ohio players are chirping a little bit, talking about they the real Miami.
Let's settle that, Miami of Ohio.
That's why I say, man, just show up and play. Don't even start all that talking and carrying on. Just show up and play.
In this, we can't agree, Charlie. I'm gonna go to you, but I don't know. Because every time the U is back, they're not back. Like, I don't know.
Charlie, they got blown out by Middle Tennessee State at home last season.
I know.
That was last year. They've gotten better. The coach has been there for some time now, so he's settled in. And Miami, they'll win this game.
All right.
I'm going with the U, and I can't have Miami of Ohio win this game because I got too many people I know that went to Miami of Ohio that would never shut up.
Oh my God. This would be like their bowl game.
Kent Taylor comes to mind.
So Saturday when we wake up and college game day is full blast again, it'll be Virginia and Tennessee that we watch. The Vols.
No. TCU and Colorado.
Well, we'll get to that one. We'll get to that one.
Okay.
I didn't say what game I was going to be watching. I said
the game that follows game day.
Right. I didn't say what game I was going to be watching. I'm saying this is the game ACC wise that'll open up. Poor Virginia. They've been through so much.
I like the ACC road show. I watched the ACC Road Show last night, and they were at Virginia.
They
And
picked
Virginia
Virginia.
has no, they have some players at Virginia. So you got a quarterback from Monmouth that's going to be starting.
Okay.
That's I mean, the dude threw for 5,000 yards last year,
Okay.
and
So
they have some defensive players that's coming back. They're excited about their defensive front. My
okay.
man Chris Slade is the coach down there, so he's coaching them up. The defensive coach Marv came from Florida State. He's the defensive coordinator.
So Charlie, are you ready
Uh,
to pick Virginia?
You gonna pick the upset,
and
Charlie?
no, I'm just trying to share with you what I learned last night.
This is more of
Nah,
this is more of an information type thing.
yeah,
I got you. I got you. I see.
they may have a chance, but I just think Tennessee and their fast pace and the whole deal maybe a little bit too much.
I think the culture of Tennessee is reestablished now, and that might be too overwhelming for Virginia coming
Yeah,
out the
Tennessee may be closer to being back than the U, and so I'm going with the balls in that game.
However, if this was at Virginia, I'd give them a much better chance because
What cover?
yeah, I'd give them a chance to at least cover. Yeah. NIU versus Boston College at Boston College. No Phil Yurkovich. He's gone.
I think the guy that's playing quarterback now to me, is much better. If it's the young player that played last year, I thought he was very good as a freshman. I think he was a freshman. So the only issue is who's going to replace Zay Flowers.
Right.
That is a question.
That's a serious
That is
question.
a massive question. So because they didn't have anybody last year, that's for sure. Are we just going to all assume that they are going to replace him? I guess at this point.
No, you don't replace him.
So, Mr. Kendrick, are you going NIU?
I'm teetering. Give me a second.
Oh, look at here. We may have our first hot pick of the day.
Let me see what NIU has coming back.
I gotta believe they're not gonna replace Zay, but
You don't replace Zay.
you don't replace Zay. You don't replace that. But surely somebody can catch the ball for Boston College. Surely. So I'm gonna go Boston College in a tight one. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination.
Let me look. I'm looking at NIU's roster now.
Both of you are really contemplating this, aren't you? Charlie, are you going NIU as well? Are you and Kendrick?
I'm going Boston College.
Okay, all right.
And I'm just looking at how many freshmen and redshirt freshmen are on NIU's roster.
Yeah.
That I'm like, they are replacing a lot from last year.
Well, they're going on the road, and I don't know anything about them. So I'm going with Boston College because I do know a little something about them.
All right. Well, do you know any more about Walford?
Who they play? Pitt.
They play Pitt, who will be quarterbacked by
A transfer.
yes, Phil Yurkovich, ironically. Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna go with Pitt because they're supposed to win, but I'm not a big believer moving forward until I see something different.
I saw someone on ESPN pick Pitt as their dark horse to win the ACC.
Were they a homer? It must have been a homer.
I think they're going on name value.
That's
Someone had already picked Louisville, so they just had to go to the next team.
That person should be tested immediately.
But I'll go with Pitt. But yeah, I think that was a situation where, well, I can't pick U of L because someone on the panel has already picked Louisville. So
yeah.
who's another name?
Shout out to Phil Yurkovich, who now he gets to run to the sideline and get the play.
At his age, he could break a hip doing that.
Passing the torch. Colgate and Syracuse. Shout out to Colgate for being a nice warm up for the Syracuse Orange.
Right.
Syracuse. Coach Babers 1-0 at home.
He's going to win the home. Now, what he's not going to do is disappoint you at home. He's never going to do that.
He disappointed you at home last year.
He got me one time. but he won the other ones. So. Number 21, North Carolina against South Carolina.
This is a tough one. This is a pick 'em that Charlie was talking about.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those pick 'em you just pick because it's the first game. You have two veteran type quarterbacks, and both teams I do believe are solid and have their strengths and weaknesses. So, I hate to go against Drake May.
Oh,
but I'm gonna go with South Carolina.
Wow. Okay.
The home team.
Okay.
Wow.
Our first controversial pick of the year. You want to call it controversial? I mean,
I don't have the. My thing is with Spencer Rattler, he can look great, and he can look equally as bad sometimes. It's just the consistency is not there. That is a home game though, and a big game, big rivalry game.
But he did play well last year.
He did, especially at the end of the season. He played really well.
Yeah, he had his moments last year for sure.
I think I'm going to go with Drake May in North Carolina by the slimmest of the slimmest margins, like a field goal at the end of the game.
Okay, all right.
So is it okay if I change my pick if I get some different intel?
I remember that happening last season, and my pick was not allowed, even though I was right.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
I need to get some intel.
We all need intel. What are we talking about right now? We all need
conspiracy.
Yeah, we have to. I'm just gonna say this. Tez Walker has fallen on every preseason ACC receiver list that I've seen. Of all the receivers in the conference, his name is the first name that pops up. So I'm going to assume, which is the beginning of disaster most times, that this kid has something that Drake May desperately needs, and I'm going to go with UNC. So there you go. Old Dominion and Virginia Tech.
Didn't Old Dominion beat them last year?
If I'm not mistaken, Old Dominion beat them last year. But I think it was at Old Dominion.
It was at
right?
Old Dominion, yeah.
Yeah. But having said that, that doesn't make me feel confident that they're in Blacksburg. Because Old Dominion beat them and they're coming in with no fear.
I'm still gonna go with the Hokies.
You're going with the Hokies, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Virginia Tech.
All right. This is where I get in trouble every year.
You got another one of your picks that's gonna get you in trouble.
It's too early. It's too early for me to go against, start branching out too far on every pick. So I'm gonna go Virginia Tech. Just so that if we win together. If we lose together. There you go.
What?
You got another pick.
That's my only reason. That's my only reason, Charlie.
Charlie, he's got another pick coming up.
I do have one coming though. I do have one coming for you.
I already know what it is.
I got one coming. Sunday, we got LSU and Florida State. This is for me. I've already given you what I think. I think Florida State wins this one, and I'm going to even go on record and say I think they win it in dominant fashion.
Or I hope you're right. But I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive than that. Um, two two high quality teams. I think they're both trending in the right direction in a lot of ways.
And I like, is it Jaden Daniels that's a quarterback? I like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he's a solid quarterback.
Yeah, he's solid.
I don't know what he has
I don't
to
trust
throw
Brian
to.
Kelly.
Why? That means they're gonna run the ball.
And again, that's why I don't trust Brian Kelly. He has traditionally, especially at Notre Dame. Now you could argue the reasons why at Notre Dame, but he's found ways to lose these games. And when a guy shows you who he is, you should believe him. So I'm gonna believe that Mike Norvell is for real, that this Florida State team is for real. So I'm all in.
I'm all in on Florida State, but I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't think it'll be dominant.
Okay.
I hope it's dominant.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I agree, but I don't think it's going to be.
Okay.
Uh,
And they stand alone, by the way, on that game. By the way, I don't think there's anything else going on that day. And then, of course, Labor Day, we have Clemson and Duke. Gentlemen, what are you thinking?
I'm going with conventional wisdom. How about you, Charlie?
I'm going with Clemson.
Okay.
I know it's a tough on the road game, which is concerning. But I just think Clemson will probably have too much for them in the long run from a defensive standpoint. And then offensively, they're going to lean on Shipley to kind of carry them, keep them off balance, as you say. Klubnik is not as bad as we think he is. I think he's improved. He has some skill.
I think he has a
as
breakout game in
freshman.
this game.
Okay.
I think he breaks out this game.
So I'm going to give you two numbers that make me think otherwise. On several different ranking systems, the incoming freshman or incoming ranking of recruiting was like 15. Average is like 15. 1 5-star. 1. And that's Big Burley. From the transfer portal, they're ranked 101. So whatever they were last year, they're basically that this year. And we saw what they were last year.
But they made the change at quarterback.
They made the change at quarterback.
The defense was still tough last year.
Defense was tough. And the defense will be tough this year. I think they'll be tough. But we're also talking about a quarterback who performed way above his head last year and shocked really probably the entire conference. The only person that shocked the conference more was Drake May. I'm starting to believe that this might be, because it's going to be a fever pitch at Duke. And they haven't had a really solid top to bottom Duke team in quite some time. So I'm going out on
been that long.
Well, but I mean, when I say top to bottom, I'm saying like if they could get past this Clemson game, this could be an interesting season for them. So I'm gonna say they push all their chips to the center of the table to win this game and send a very clear message to the conference that we're gonna be here all year. So I'm going Duke.
They still can. I mean, if Duke loses, there are no more divisions, and so
Right. But I don't
they
think
can still get there.
I don't think you can get in though the conference game with more than one loss. I think it's going to be one loss. I think it could be. I don't think 2 losses is going to get you in. I could be wrong, but it could be one loss.
I'm with you on that. I think it's one loss, but
yeah, I think it's one loss. So, and the timing of the loss is going to be interesting as well. So we'll see that.
Well, in that case, it's all about standings and ain't about rankings.
Exactly. All right, we're adding something new this year. You get to pick one other game. It doesn't matter what game you want to pick. We're adding the bonus, what we call the bonus pick. So the three choices are Northwestern and Rutgers,
Ugh.
Ohio State and Indiana, and then, of course, Colorado and TCU, which is the game that everybody in America is going to be watching this week. I fully expect that game to maybe set a record for Saturday 11 a.m. game or 12 game noon 11 a.m. games in college football. We may not have ever seen a number like that for an early game like that. Now I'm talking about nationally, not regionally, but nationally. So what game are you picking? We can go as and that's not group wise, it's you individually. Of those three choices, what game are you picking?
I'm gonna go the easy route and pick Ohio State to beat Indiana.
Okay.
So,
so you said Ohio State over Indiana.
Yeah.
Is your bonus game. Okay, cool. All right, Charlie, what are you doing?
What was the first game?
The first one was Northwestern Rutgers, which is a
Charlie,
weird.
you know good and well which game you're picking.
Which is a weird game to pick, but it is.
That is
like
a
a
weird
Brainiac game. It's a Brainiac game.
It's like Milt Wagner says, so smart schools.
Some smart schools. And then, of course, the last one is Colorado, Tennessee. TCU.
Well, I'm going with the TCU and Colorado game.
Okay, and you are picking?
Never saw that coming.
I am picking TCU because they're playing at home.
Okay.
Even though they have a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator.
And also, somebody else too. Didn't they lose their running back too?
Yeah, they lost some pieces, but they brought in quite a few pieces, mainly a few from Alabama. So that makes you feel a little bit better about the pick.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Max Dugan was cut. I believe.
He was cut by the Chargers. I'm surprised they didn't at least make the practice squad. I was surprised by that.
They've been bringing a lot of guys back to practice squad in a weird way, so I don't know what that's about. They may bring him back too, but as of now, he has no home.
Well, I'm sure he'll find his way.
Yeah.
He's been able to do it for quite some time.
Yeah.
But I think TCU playing at home, and there's a lot of unknowns in this type of game. And we know that TCU has, last year their season was unprecedented in a lot of ways. They won a lot of close games, but they had, graduation from some of their better players that they've, I think, been able to replace. And then, of course, you have Colorado, who's gutted their entire program, and they're going to be bringing in new players. And so I'm not 100% sure and sold right now that they're going to have what it takes to win a tough road game because they have a lot of guys that are played in different places, but trying to bring it all together, it's going to be tough. It'd be interesting to see how Shedeur does on this level. I know he's talented, and he'll continue to get better over the course of the season. But it'd be interesting to see how he competes at this level. I'm
100% on board with what you're saying about that.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to believe, and like sitting in a Baptist church, Dion makes you believe to some degree. Like you're going, he preaches a good sermon, man. You're just like, wow, this good work. But then when you start looking at the realities, you're going, well, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
The safe bet, obviously, Ohio State and Indiana. But who wants to play it safe? So I'm gonna join you.
Are you gonna pick the Rutgers game?
Oh, listen. I said safe, not dangerous. I'm not safe, not dangerous. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm going to go TCU with Charlie. But here's the thing that makes this very, very interesting.
If that game was in Colorado, I'd give Colorado more of a
I give
chance.
them more of a fighting chance.
Because that stadium would be insane. But on the road, first game, I'm with Charlie. That's a lot.
But I'm going to say this, though, and I think it needs to be stated. If Colorado pulls this off, and then we'll even add another caveat. If they pull it off in somewhat dominant fashion, like they leave no doubt, the fever pitch on Monday morning is going to be.
They might actually stop talking about Dak Prescott for a segment on Get Up.
And that alone makes me want Deion to win because I'm so tired of hearing about Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. So I think TCU is going to win, but I'm going to root for Deion to pull this off and shock the world. I'm rooting for him to shock the world. So there's our first picks for the year. Well, listen. You are fully invested in TCU, literally.
Literally.
So because you know
win the rest of his games.
So you don't feel an internal conflict not to root for your Florida State brother?
No. Not on this one.
It's the deadpan for me. It's the deadpan answer for me. I love it. Okay. All right. Well, those are our official first picks of the year. And we, as you can tell, we have a lot of fun with those. So, all right. We're at the shout outs place, people. I would like to go first, you guys don't mind. I want to shout out. I'm going way off the trail right now, but I want to shout out two people. One is Sha'Carri Richardson. I am so impressed by what she did at the World Championships from top to bottom. It was really, to me, the only comeback story that is better than hers is my second shout out, which is Simone Biles. Both of those ladies, what they did, if you think about their journeys, what they did at the World Championships is nothing short of miraculous. I mean, it's Simone looked like Simone, and
she makes it look so easy.
She makes it look so easy. And you're talking about a young lady. Think about it. Who had, I don't want to say quit because that sounds so horrible, but who decided to stop because she was having like real strong mental issues, and she climbed back in this thing. And I mean, she looks so dominant. Like the field is, I don't know what the field is going to do. Like it's almost like they're kind of shining up the gold medal for her right now in the Olympics because she looks like she's not going to be denied. So shout out to both of them. And then again, Sha'Carri, I don't think I've ever seen somebody come back in a 100-meter race like that.
Right.
Like that was so, I've never seen that before. It was so bizarre because shout out to the Jamaicans because they typically dominate this race, but man, I think they were as shocked about her comeback as anybody. So I just want to give those ladies some love this morning.
How did she do in the 200?
I don't remember. Did she? I don't think she won the 200. Did she?
I don't think she did.
Yeah, I don't think she won the 200. But they dominated in the 4x100, and man, her leg was incredible. Like she just has, I think, found her mental groove. Now that 200 is a different race, though, Charlie. It ain't the same. So I don't know if she's built for that one. And then I guess I give a shout out to Noah Lyles for winning, and then just say, hey man, be careful because this is the type of stuff that triggers drug testing. When you say weird stuff like this. So okay, all right, those are my shout outs.
It's hard to top those.
I'll shout out Nebraska volleyball.
Oh yeah.
Over 90,000 people showing up at Nebraska's football stadium to cheer on the volleyball team, the largest crowd to view a women's sport. It was awesome to see. It was an awesome setup there to see that football stadium full, to watch a volleyball match. It was awesome. So shout out to Nebraska and Cornhusker Nation showing up and showing out for that game last night.
Well, it's not hard to do when you're the best team on campus.
And it's not
They are
even close.
they are far and away the best sports team on campus, and like you said, it's not even close. Yeah, I agree 100%. These are great shout outs today. Charlie, there's a lot of pressure on you right now.
Well, I'm gonna go with a coach. Shout out to Steve Kerr.
Ooh.
This is huge because you can tell he's a championship coach, and he understands his players. He understands, how to fit, how a team fits and how they can work together to achieve the same goal. And so for him to make the move of benching Brandon Ingram, who is, a very good player and one of the top players for the Pelicans, New Orleans Pelicans, for Josh Hart, who is a role player. I mean, he plays his role really, really well. As I say, every team needs a glue guy or a nuts and bolts guy, and that is what he is.
Yeah.
And so he made the switch, even though it was against Jordan, but he still made the switch, and they were able to find a good fit, in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And so I just shout out to him for making that move, especially on that level. A lot of times you have egos involved, but I guess once you get to the USA level, it shouldn't have the egos because you're playing for one goal.
Right.
And it was just, it takes some guts to do that. And I would just appreciate, him doing it as a, coach.
Charlie, does it feel like this year's team is more of a team? I mean, they feel like a team. It doesn't feel like a group of just great players. It feels like they've really come together and bonded as teammates.
I think that's where we're heading, because you're starting to get a mix of talent to where there's no LeBrons, there's no D-Ways, there's no just major superstars coming together to try to form one team. I think these are rising young players that are very good on their squads, but they have different fields. Like your Jalen Brunson he's a different dude. I mean, he's not your overall superstar, even though he's working towards that in a lot of ways. But I just think that's the teams that they're going to start putting together here. Is who's the best fit for the group, and bringing young talent, I think does help. Even though they're superstars in the making, I think bringing that young talent along to be able to help fill some of the gaps, get some of that experience, because Olympic basketball is different than NBA. And it's just different in a lot of ways. And so I just think the teams that they're putting together will be very similar to the one we have here moving forward.
And by the way, they are a uniquely kind of dominant team. Like, I've watched several of the games, and like, they don't always get off to the best start, but the team part of what you're talking about, that chemistry, that communication, that sacrifice tends to show up, and next thing you know, they're beating some team by 20, 30 points. It's really quite impressive.
And the way they cheer for each other, that's what makes it feels like so much more of a team, because it feels good. It's not all about the back of the jersey. It definitely feels like the name of the front of the jersey, where they, because Ant will start going off, and they all are rooting for Ant to go off, and the same with Reeves, and same with Halliburton. I mean, Halliburton's out there trying to get the assist record. I mean, this team is so much fun to watch. I mean, most of these Team USA teams are fun to watch, but it's just something, I don't know, it just feels good. It's just something different about this team.
Feels good. Feels
Well,
good.
one thing that they did mention that I agree with, and what they're going to be looking to do moving forward is the team that they currently have is the team that they're going to be playing with next year
in the Olympics.
because in the Olympics, because they feel like that has been the one of the issues moving forward is having one team and then the next year having a different group
Hmm.
to try to cultivate the culture and those guys trying to play together, and then they've seen that that's taking them a step back, and so they've worked to try to they're going to have the same team next year for the Olympics,
Yeah,
which is a great strategy.
I agree, 100%. All right, I have one last surprise for you guys, and this is something we typically talk about, but we've never like highlighted it on our show. And this year we're going to start. This is going to be the first year we start highlighting, and that is the all college football name team. And man, there are some candidates this year for the all
See,
football.
my boy Cavassier is still on the
Bossier
list.
Smoke is on the list. General Booty made the list. The Coldest Crawford is on the list. The Realest Clark. I blame public education for this. Fat Watts is on the list. Rowdy Beers.
I love Rowdy Beers.
Parker Titsworth is on the list. Jaden Musk. No
What
further
is the origin of that last name?
no further commentary is needed for that name, okay? Jaden Musk.
Sounds like the name on a bad 80s movie.
I don't. There's some names here. Just Jaden Muskrat, Panda Askew, Tiger Shanks is on the list. Dodger Saucer, Colton Boomer. Colton Boomer's not that bad.
No, it's not.
That's not that bad. Fish McWilliams is interesting. I don't get this one at all. Octavius Oxendine.
I've been covering Octavius Oxendine since he was in high school because he went to North Hardin, just outside of Louisville. That kid is one of the funniest kids you'll ever meet.
He would have to be because that name is something
hilarious.
else.
He reminds me of Ollie. Remember Ollie on Last Chance U?
Yes.
He's kind of like, he sounds like him too. Octavius is hilarious.
Please forgive me. This is the name. Shitta
It looks like Shita Salah.
I think it's listen, it could be, but that's I'm just saying that's what I'm saying what everybody's thinking. So there you go. Nebraska, Chief Borders they're bringing Chief Borders to the
He should have went to Illinois or Florida State.
I agree. He is for sure at the wrong school. Maybe one of the greatest names I've ever seen. Memorable Factor.
That's the most Duke name on the list.
That is quite a name right there.
That is a Duke name.
To me, the award for their parents need to be smacked. Pig Cage. Pig Cage is his name.
That award goes above Cavassier.
P-I-G.
That award goes above Cavassier's parents.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, Cavassier almost sounds classy, right? But Pig Cage, come on.
Is it Cavassier Smoke?
Yes.
Cavassier Smoke. That almost sounds classy.
Yeah.
It feels like a name's off of a kid. These are real names, though. These are actual names. Mobility at North Texas, looks like. Mobility.
That's his last name, Bility?
Yes.
Bility. Mobility.
That can't be a last name.
That's his last name. Charlie is his last
No,
name.
that's not someone's last name.
That is his last. Charlie Ward. His last name is Bility. He could, yes. His parents could have easily went with John. They decided not.
No, you have to go Mo. There's no choice.
They decided to go with Mo.
That has to be a name change. There's no one's last name Bility.
I'm going to look. Okay. Kendrick, will you confirm mobility for me, please? Okay. And then Alabama will bring on their first Kool-Aid McKinstry in history. I'm a fan of Kool-Aid. I've never wanted to name my child that though.
That's not a given name. That's a nickname.
That's got to be a nickname. I'm praying to God that someone didn't wake up out of a drunken stupor and say, "Let's call him Kool-Aid." I just Storm Duck is a wild name, and of course Major Burns at LSU, Dude Person at I don't know what school that is. What school is that? And then of course we end with the great Max von Marburg.
So Mobility,
yes,
is from North. He's from North Dallas.
That's North Texas, right?
Yeah.
He's really actually probably from South Dallas. If I had, he's probably from Oak Cliff.
He's got speed. He won the district 110 meters.
He would have to have speed to be called Mobility. He would have to be.
I'm just saying, whose last name is Billity?
Mo's.
Apparently, Mo's last name is Billity. Is what we're trying to explain to you, Charlie.
That's somebody. That's your made up name.
Well, Charlie, in some fashion, they're all made up names, aren't they? I mean, what do we? The Mobility. Why is that the one?
It has to be a recent. It has to be a recent made up name.
Help me understand, Charlie. You're struggling with Mobility, but you're not struggling with Pig Cage. Like you've accepted Pig Cage.
But Cage is a common last name.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
I'm talking about the last name.
I will admit I've never seen Billity as a last name.
That is my point. Exactly.
It doesn't feel like a common last name.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it is bad. I'm just saying I've never seen somebody's last name Billity.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I just Googled Billity, and Billity is the 145th, 345th thousandth most frequently occurring surname worldwide. And it's 95% are found in West Africa and 95% in Anglo-West Africa. So Billity is an African name. Right. So there you go.
Thanks for looking that up.
Well, I felt like I had to, Charlie, because you were making me doubt it at some point. I was like, that does sound weird, but it technically.
When you look at the kid's picture, you could tell that. I mean, he's got African origin.
He's for sure got African roots.
He's got very African features. Yes.
Well, listen, I'm clearly going to be rooting for Mobility.
So it's Charlie. It's Charlie's new favorite player.
I want him to do well, just so that announcers are forced to say, "What a play by Mobility."
I mean,
I'm rooting for all these players to do well.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Octavius. He wears number 8. So I'm rooting for him. He is a really good player. He had injuries last season, but Octavius is a heck of a player.
Just real quick, out of all the names, which name do you think the announcers are going to struggle with the most? Not a pronouncing, but just a moral internal thing of saying, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud.
The kid from Porky's.
Because it sounds insulting. His name sounds insulting. A great tackle by Pig Cage. No, you can't say
That's not the one I'm talking about.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Parker Titsworth.
Okay. I thought we agreed that nothing else needed to be said about that. Thought we had settled on that one. For sure, the most mispronounced one will be the one from Boston College, Scylla, and
I'm convinced that that's Salah.
I think they're gonna change it to Shatta Salah. They're not gonna go with the other pronunciation for FCC reasons.
I mean, if it's his name, it's his name. The SEC can't say nothing.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. Go ahead.
Maybe we need to look up the pronunciation of the word.
I think you're correct. What if
they probably got a pronunciation guide on their website.
I would hope.
But But yeah, our guy that I was just talking about, he's gonna be the one, and I hope he's a star. Cavassier spoke. He's been around for a while. I think
Yeah, Cavassier's been around a while. We're used to Cavassier at this point.
And he's a really good player. He's not an every down back. He's kind of a third down back and kind of line him up out of the backfield and things like that. But Kentucky almost had two of them. Cavassier, well, they did have two of them because they were both. He was at UK last year, so you had Cavassier and Octavius last year. And shout out to my boy JJ Weaver for UK with his six finger. Him and Octavius are best friends, and they are hilarious.
I'm hoping Kool-Aid plays extremely well because I feel like it would bring a resurgence to the drink. Because that's
for my family.
That's the easiest NIL deal to do of all. Like, there's no easier NIL deal to do. If he has a great season, that kid's gonna be a millionaire before he graduates.
I make picture after picture. La, 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 la. I make Kool-Aid for my family.
By the way, the lady who sang that song is a friend of mine. I don't know if that's a flex. Is that a flex? How is that a flex?
And that was a humble flex.
Like they tried it.
Flex.
2 out of 3.
but how is that a flex though? Like she's not like
the exact same flex that you had earlier.
I'm starting to see why you guys don't like humble flex. I'm starting to understand now. It's
Yeah.
starting to register. Okay, guys, this. We said all this to say that college football is back. We hope you enjoy the weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, so enjoy your Labor Day weekend. And again, thoughts and prayers will still be with our East Coast, specifically Florida, but all of the East Coast going through this hurricane season. Be safe out there and protect your families and everything. So that's it. That's all we got. We'll be back next week to do it all over again. Kendrick Haskins, Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence.
See you.
You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us next time